Nag-alok ng pardon si incoming President Rodrigo Duterte kay dating Pangulong Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Pero tinanggihan umano ito ng dating Pangulo dahil kinakailangan itong mag-plead ng guilty sa kasong plunder. Ginawa ni Duterte ang alok sa isinagawang news conference kagabi sa Davao City. Si Arroyo na muling nahalal sa ikatlo at huling termino bilang congressional representative ng 2nd District ng Pampanga ay naka-hospital arrest sa Veterans Memorial Medical Center dahil sa umano'y paglustay sa intelligence funds ng PCSO nang siya ay nakaupo pa bilang Pangulo. Sinabi ni Duterte na sa lahat ng mga respondent sa kaso, tanging si Ginang Arroyo ang nananatiling nakakulong at naawa siya sa kalagayan ng may sakit na mababatas. Ayon kay Duterte, kinausap niya si Arroyo at nag-alok ng pardon pero tinanggihan ito dahil ayaw niya mag-plead ng guilty sa kasong plunder.
I had this smooth sailing except for some aberration sometimes on the part of some investigators, but otherwise we all weathered whatever crisis came our way.
What was your impression of the office of the Ombudsman in the first maybe 6 months that you sat?
I was in a chaotic condition because the records were topsy-turvy, some were incomplete, some were, I don't know if it was intentionally tortured in the sense that some pages were missing, some bore indicia of fraudulent or irregular acts attending the compilation of records.
Was it an agency that was riddled with corruption?
I was told before I came in that I didn't know what I was going into because they said it was riddled with corruption. Fortunately, when I came, I got a lot of white paper against this and that fellow. Of course, I had to validate the information. Some were just harassment.
Is the agency corruption-free now?
That I cannot say categorically. Because sometimes you hear people outside saying that this and that person is corrupt. But, you know, we want evidence.
How does it feel for someone like yourself to be called feisty, no-nonsense, and an anti-corruption crusader?
Well, I don't say I am flattered because it's true. So it's just telling the truth that I'm indeed a feisty person. I'm a no-nonsense person and whatever.
Let me go back to one case, Ombudsman. During your, first year as Ombudsman, you were able to file cases and eventually former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo was detained. I will not say jailed because she was just detained. And I'm not sure if a lot of people know it, but it was the former president who appointed you back in 2002 as a member, an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. My first question is, how difficult was that for you?
It was not difficult because I went by the evidence. I did not look up to who appointed me. Because if you look at the gratitude in determining the merits of a case, you are not effective as a leader, as an ombudsman, or as a prosecutor.
It's not difficult for you, but do you see a problem right now? Because you filed cases, she was eventually detained, and she's now out. Two things, Ombudsman. One was the Supreme Court granting the demurrer of evidence about 2 months ago. And just a couple of weeks ago, the Sandigan Bayan dropping also the graft cases against the president, the former president. She has no cases against her anymore.
No, they are not final yet. With respect to the Sandigan case, we're filing a motion for reconsideration. That is our plan. With respect to the detention or the release from detention of Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, given the grant by the Supreme Court of the demurrer to evidence, again, we filed a motion for reconsideration. So these are not final.
You were not very pleased, obviously.
Of course, yes.
And there was a point you were saying that the Supreme Court, in fact, was asking for more evidence, and all of a sudden, they decided on this case. What do you think happened there?
Well, you see, the Sandigan Bayan denied the demurrer to evidence, all right? Then it went to the Gloria Macapagal Arroyo went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the evidence was insufficient. It was weak to call for her continued detention and to call for her release from jail. So, as far as we prosecutors and the Sandigan Bayan are concerned, we felt that the evidence is very strong, is documented, not to mention the testimonial evidence. So we thought that the Supreme Court would affirm the denial by the Sandigan Bayan of the demurrer to evidence. But unfortunately, the Supreme Court granted it.
So you filed an MR?
Yes, it's still pending.
Yeah. Do you feel that there is a chance the Supreme Court will look into this favorably
There's
for
always
you?
a chance, you know. You never give up.
Even with a vote as such?
Yes.
Or are you just trying to be positive?
No. I believe if people are enlightened under the assumption that we were able to enlighten them, then we're still hoping that we could get the decision reversed or modified or whatever.
There's also an investigation on the former president still ongoing.
Yes, that's right. It covers different years.
What do you think your chances are really of filing more cases against the former president?
That will not deter us from filing more cases. You see, we just prosecute. We do not convict or we do not declare one innocent.
There were a number of cases also filed by the Office of the Ombudsman. Let me name them, at least some of the popular celebrated cases. The 3 senators, top PNP officials, including General Alan Purisima. Well, you were also a witness against the former Supreme Court Chief Justice. Which among those cases do you feel are landmark or the most important case that the Ombudsman has looked into?
All cases we file or we interfere in are all important. But if we are to believe the media and some commentators, they say, but that will bring out the immodest in me. They say that my testimony in the impeachment case was the turning point in the result of the impeachment of Chief Justice Corona.
You said one of the lowest points as Ombudsman was when the Supreme Court granted bail on former Senator Juan Ponce Enrile. Is that still your
My
low?
opinion stands.
And the reason for that was?
Because even Enrile himself did not invoke his alleged frailty and ailment. He invoked that ground only for purposes of transferring the venue of his detention from the regular jail detention facilities to the hospital.
The PNP General Hospital. Yeah.
So I was surprised that the Supreme Court invoked that reason to justify his release. Nothing personal.
Do you still believe in the integrity, the credibility of the members of the Supreme Court?
That's a difficult question to answer. But the presumption is that all government officials are presumed to be doing their work regularly, in accordance with law, in accordance with what is expected of them. Let's give that the presumption.
Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales. She also tells us how her talk with President Duterte went when they met again at a wedding this month.
Very cordial, civil, you know. As I was telling you earlier, I was trying to figure out how to break the ice, but he was the first to talk to me. He said, Mom, this is where I used to pray when I was a student. He was referring to San Agustin Church.
And what did you say to that?
Well, I said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not religious. And then he said, oh, well, I can believe that because I was talking to your father before, because our houses were 2 houses apart. That was in Davao.
Is that so?
That's true, yes. That's why my brothers who all took up law in Ateneo de Davao lived in Davao, and they know the president well.
So you were neighbors in Davao, 2 houses away?
Yes.
You never met him
No,
back then?
never. Because I only went there when my father suffered a stroke in 1979. That was the only time I went to Davao.
What kind of relationship do you have?
I cannot describe any relationship because there's no relationship to begin with. I never talked to him, he never talked to me. And I said that last Friday was my 4th time to meet him. The first two in Davao on official business at from the Supreme Court. And the third was when his daughter married my nephew. And the fourth time was last Friday. That's all.
During that wedding, and that photo was seen all over.
Yes, but
You were walking down the aisle
whoever
together.
came up with that caption was really naughty, because they said President Duterte and Ombudsman walked down the aisle. If you don't look at the details, you would think we were getting married or what.
But was there anything else more than that conversation that you told us?
No, nothing, because he came in the nick of time when the procession was already beginning to start. And that's all he said. And after the marriage rites, he was mobbed by people who wanted to have photograph with him. I had my own share of selfies, so there was no recessional anymore.
There was no chance.
He did not attend the reception. Yes.
I see. Okay, and you were still at the reception.
I was.
What do you think of the president's war on drugs?
You see, there might be some cases that are spawned by this war on drugs. So I'd rather not say anything, because it might come to the office, albeit I would, if he's the respondent, I would inhibit.
So I guess that would be the same, Ombudsman, for accusations on human rights violations or extrajudicial killings?
Possibility is there. There's many possible things.
Well, I wanted to bring back that picture that I saw in your office, together with Secretary Secretary Leila
Yes,
de Lima,
Leila
now
de Lima.
Senator, Filipino of the Year 2014. Would you like to react on what is happening to the senator right now?
Well, you see, it's still under investigation. In fact, the investigation about her alleged connection with the drug problem is not yet in the offing. They just say they're going to present witnesses and all that, but it's all that. That's what we read in the newspapers.
Yeah.
I'm not going to comment on that.
Where do you think the Philippines is right now in terms of probably economic growth, anti-corruption, war on drugs, in general, ma'am? Are we on the right track?
Yes, we're headed for a continued rosy economy. You remember during the term of President Pinoy, our economy grew by leaps and bounds. It was and still is very rosy. And we have to give a chance to the present president to keep at par, if not surpass, whatever Pinoy achieved during his term. Let us be optimistic.
The cases against Binay, the cases against, well, as I mentioned, the three senators. At one point, I remember you saying,
if you feel that I am impeachable because I have done wrong, do so. I welcome it. I don't have to be impeached. I will give my position in a silver platter. Nabubwisit na talaga ako, ha? Because every time I file a case, sasabihin nyo, politically motivated.
in situations like this, galit na ho ba talaga yung namumuna when
Well, that's a knee-jerk reaction. You know, they want to piss me off, they succeed, but you have to move forward.
How often do they piss you off, Ombudsman?
Well, for as long as I'm minded to listen to them, but sometimes they want to piss me off, but they don't succeed. But there are times you're just human. You get pissed off when probably you're at your lowest. You have a lot of problems in the office, so they compound your problems by trying to piss you off. But so far, they have not succeeded in getting me out of the office.
You are going to stay till
2018.
2018.
Right.
And do you feel that you have the strength to stay on until the end of your term?
Yes, I am. I feel it. I'm strong.
Yeah.
Physically, mentally, how else?
Nobody even believes your age.
Yes, I'm 75. But I run faster than the 60-year-old people.
You have a plan of a zero backlog.
Yes, that's...
Let's talk about that.
By the time I retire in 2018, that's our target. We intend to see to it that our backlog would be finished, would be remedied, and by all indications, we're leading to that road, and even earlier than my retirement.
I wanted to go back to the time that you started. Well, I don't know much, but I know enough that it's like at some point, Ombudsman, every president appointed you somewhere.
That's right.
Marcos appointed you as,
Camarines Sur. Far away Camarines Sur.
as a regional trial court judge.
Yes.
And then you have Cory,
Yes, and Regional Trial Court in Pasay.
FVR,
Court of Appeals,
and then GMA,
Supreme Court.
and then Pinoy.
Yes.
Would that be the end of the line for you?
Well, I'll be 77 when I retire. So, Romulo was Secretary of Foreign Affairs, even at 80 plus. So, you can never say, yabang ko. No.
No, honestly, you think there could still be something in store for you after the
I
office
want to
of the
retire,
Ombudsman?
really retire.